Hi guys, welcome to this podcast. So what we have here in this video is actually we can consider this as an episode 0. So you can expect um, that my future YouTube uploads will be something like this. Okay, I will talk about ideas about self-improvement, maybe about minimalism, about um, law of attraction, about being the best version of yourself, something like that. So somehow this I don't have any script yet. That's why this is actually a more of an hardware test. How does the light lighting, the audio, how does this works, and all of that. So the setup is I'll be reading a PDF here. It goes something like this. So why not start with this book, The As a Man Thinketh, okay, by James Allen. So since this is just a pilot episode of my next uploads, the pattern will be like this. I'll be writing a script, okay, and convert it into PDF so that I can be able to view it in the OBS, the software that I'm using right now, and I can also navigate it. So from Word file, I'll convert it to no, in the Word file I'll save it as PDF file so I can read it like this. So I haven't written any script yet. That's why I will be just simply reading the As a Man Thinketh right now. So what are those? We'll read some lines from this book. What's the big idea? What's the gist of this book here, As a Man Thinketh, by James Allen? By the way, this is a highly recommended book. It's a short book but very practical. Okay, somehow it's uh, it's very simple yet very informative. Okay, As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. So the basic idea of this book is simple. Is simple. It's just here. They themselves are makers of themselves. As simple as that. So your mind is the master weaver of your inner circumstances and outer circumstances. As simple as that. Your mind is the maker of your inner character and outer circumstances. So the gist is what is happening into your mind right now will sooner or later manifest outside of your life. Okay? So let's read some few more lines from this book. So thought and character. So the main idea of this book is a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So what a man really think in his heart is what he is. Okay? A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Okay? So just by this definition, a man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Okay, if you know someone who is somehow always angry or always sad, because that's the thoughts that he or she entertains into her mind. That's why what she always think, she'll become that. See, that's as simple as that. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought and could not have appeared without them. See? There is a line in this book that I really want, is that circumstances does not it's not that you react on a particular circumstances. It reveals if you encounter a particular circumstances and you react that way, you react not because of that circumstances. You react because that's what you are. Okay? So this applies equally to those acts called spontaneous and unpremeditated as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is the blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are its fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. So you are really the one who's cultivating everything, any factors or any areas in your life. It's you who did it to yourself. So let's look for some more lines here. Maybe another character. So effect of thoughts on circumstances. So let me ask you this: does your thought has an effect on your circumstances? Of course there is. So let's read some few. Let's choose some lines. Okay, randomly. Every thought seed sown or allowed to fall into the mind and to take root there produces its own blossoming sooner or later into act and bearing its own fruitage of opportunity and circumstances. Good thoughts bear good fruit. Bad thoughts, bad fruit. Okay? So very simple yet very informative. Okay, here. The outer world of circumstances shapes itself to the inner world of thought. Okay. And both pleasant and unpleasant external conditions are factors which make for the ultimate good of the individual. As the reaper of his own harvest, man learns both suffering and bliss. Okay, let's choose some more random lines here in this book. Effect of thought on health and body. Okay. So the body is the servant of the mind. It obeys the operation of the mind, whether they are deliberately chosen or automatically expressed. At the bidding of unlawful thoughts, the body sinks rapidly into disease and decay. At the command of glad and beautiful thoughts, it becomes clothed with youthfulness and beauty. Wrinkles that mark are drawn by folly, passion, and pride. So it says here, this is one of my favorite lines here. I know a woman of 96 who has a bright, innocent face of a girl. I know a man well under middle age whose face is drawn into inharmonious contours. The one is the result of a sweet and sunny disposition, which the 96 years old have. The other is the outcome of passion and discontent. So, if you see someone who's not yet in their 30s, but looks like in their 50s already, there are reasons behind that. Okay, and it all deeply rooted into your way of thinking. Okay, let's choose some more. Thought and purpose. Conceive. Those who are not prepared. Okay, the thought factor in achievement. Okay, a strong man cannot help a weaker unless the weaker is willing to be helped. And even then, the weak man must become strong of himself. He must, by his own efforts, develop the strength which he admires in another. None but himself can alter his condition. Okay. So another striking lines is that no matter how much you help another person, it is not for you to decide what will happen to that person. It's his decision to improve himself. So you just tell him what you want him to do, but it's ultimately still up to that person. He who has conquered weakness and has put away all selfish thoughts belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. He is free. A man can only rise, conquer, and achieve by lifting up his thoughts. He can only remain weak and abject and miserably by refusing to lift up his thoughts. Okay, so you need to lift up your thoughts. Do not entertain unnecessary or thoughts without any purpose. It will not help you. Okay, will bestial thoughts and the likes. Do not entertain those thoughts. Think as if you are a god, and it will manifest in your circumstances. Let's choose some lines here. Okay, visions and ideals. The dreamers are the saviors of the world. Okay, see? So do not what do not think that since you are a dreamer that you have it's useless to become a dreamer. Yeah, that's what I want to say. Do not entertain the thoughts that since you are a dreamer, that is a useless thought. Do not entertain that, because dreamers are the saviors of the world. So if you dream, you are dreaming of something, you need to be proud of that, because you are the savior of the world. As the visible world is sustained by the invisible. Yes, everything that is visible right now first appear in the invisible. It manifested because it first became invisible, and then it becomes visible by execution of the thoughts. So men, through all their trials and sins and sordid vocations, are nourished by the beautiful visions of their solidarity and dreamers. Humanity cannot forget its dreamers. It cannot let their ideals fade and die. It lives in them. It knows them in the realities which it shall one day see and know. So composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage, these are the makers of the altar world. The architects of heavens. The world is beautiful because they have lived. Without them, laboring humanity would perish. Okay, this is one of the most important ideas in this book, that serenity and calmness. You know what does Rancho does Chamal does Chanchad in the movie Three Idiots do when he is faced in a difficult situation? He just holds his heart and says, "All is well, all is well, all is well. Everything is well." Okay, so nothing to be afraid of. Everything will go well. So calmness, serenity. Calmness of the mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. Okay. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more and ordinary knowledge of the laws and operations of thought. A man becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought evolved being. Okay, so you must consider yourself as a thought evolved being. Okay, think one step ahead, one step higher than everyone around you. For such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought, and as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relationship, things and actions, cause and effect, It eases the fuss and fume and worry and grief, remains poised, steadfast and serene. A calm man, having learned how to govern himself, knows how to adapt to himself to others. That's true. Okay, so that will be all. Let's just look for an closing line here. Okay, here. How many people we know, okay, who sour their lives, who ruin all that is sweet and beautiful by explosive tempers. Okay, ask yourself that. Who destroys their poise of character and make bad blood. It is a question whether the great majority of people do not ruin their lives and mark their happiness by lack of self-control. How few people we meet in life who are well balanced, who have that exquisite poise, which is characteristics of the finished character. So the worst thing that can ever happen to you is if you lose your temper. So be calm always. Entertain serenity in you to your mind, and you will be above everyone else, which you should do. Okay? Humanity surges with uncontrolled passion. This is very prevalent in our time. Okay? Is tumultuous with ungoverned grief. Is blown about by anxiety and doubt. Only the wise man, only those whose thoughts are controlled and purified, makes the winds and the storms of the soul obey him. Okay, last line. Let's choose some more line here. Okay, here. Listen to this. It says here that your circumstances right now may be uncongenial, but they should not long remain so. Okay, why? If you but perceive in an ideal and strive to reach it, you cannot travel within the standstill without. Here is the youth hard pressed by poverty and labor confined long hours in an unhealthy workshops, unschooled and lacking all the arts of refinement. But he dreams of better things. He thinks of intelligence, refinement, of grace and beauty. He conceives of, mentally builds up an ideal condition of life. The vision of a wider liberty and a larger scope takes possession of him. Unrest urges him to action, and he utilizes all his spare time and means, small though they are, to the development of his latent powers and resources. Very soon will altered, okay? Has his mind to become that worship can no longer hold him. It has become so out of harmony with the mentality that it falls out of his life as the garment cast aside, and the true growth opportunity which fit the scope of his expanding powers, he passes of it forever. Years later, we see this youth as a full-grown man. We find him a master of certain forces of the mind which he wields and worldwide influence in the almost unequaled power. In his hand he holds the cords of gigantic responsibilities. He speaks and lives are challenged, mean that women hang upon his world and remold their characters, and unlike he become and fix luminous center around the innumerable destinies revolve. He realizes the vision of his youth has become one with the ideals, and you too, youthful reader, will realize the vision, not the idle wish of your heart, be it base or beautiful or a mixture of both. By the way, when we say base in this context, it means negative. It's like a euphemist way of saying negative. But here, we treat negative as the baseline. Okay? So that's a somehow a good idea. Into your hands will be placed in the exact results of your own thoughts, you will receive that which you earn, no more, no less. Whatever you present environment may be will fall, remain, or rise with the thoughts, your visions, or your ideas. Yeah, the submission. Okay, so I think this will be the closing lines that I'll read in this book. He who hope would accomplish little must sacrifice little. Okay, see, he who would accomplish little must sacrifice little. If you don't only sacrifice a little, then you will only achieve little. If you cannot sacrifice your, let's say, your possessions, your social media account, then you will achieve very little. But he who would achieve must sacrifice much. Achieve much must sacrifice much. He would attain highly must sacrifice greatly. So it's as simple as that. So what you actually give, that's exactly what you will receive. Okay. Okay, so maybe this is the penultimate and this is the ultimate. All achievements, whether in the business, intellectual, or spiritual world, are the result of definite directed thought, are governed by the same law, and are of the same method. The only difference lies in the object of attainment. Victories attained by the right thought can only be maintained by watchfulness. Many give away when success is assured and rapidly fall back into failure. Okay? So many give away when success is assured. So when you're about to succeed, then you give up. You don't know. And you will rapidly fall back into failure. Okay, so that's it. That's the we read some few lines from this book. So we just really choose some lines, then read it. This, as I said, this is just a pilot episode of my podcast. So the pattern, I mean the idea here is I will write a script and discuss it further in this episode. So this is just a pilot episode of my podcast. So thank you for joining me and thank you for watching this podcast. Goodbye for now.